So we got it up. I think we already live, but just in case, we're going to make sure that we cooking with Crisco. Everybody, how's the love? What's going on? It's been another week. Another week has gone by. We are so blessed. Definitely so blessed. And it is definitely official. Here we go, here we go, here we go. You are officially, guess what? It's that time of the week. It's another Wednesday. You are officially rolling with Ramsey. Hey guys, check this out. You know, we got a phenomenal guest coming on today. Hey, you know what, Crystal? I see you. Our guest is already in the room too. I'm loving it. The sun is shining and you can't complain to me about anything at this very moment because you have to believe that you are blessed and highly favored and everything's going to work it out. No matter how bad it may be, no matter what you're going through, it's going to be an awesome day today and this evening. Hey, if your day's been going bad, now you're rolling with Ramsey and everything should be all right. Come on now. That's how it's supposed to go down. Listen, I'm trying to tell you, today's show is going to be phenomenal. And I know y'all see me rocking the new official Rolling with Ramsey hat. Check it out. I want you to check that out right there. Bam! I'm loving it. They came in earlier this week. So I just keep on, you know what? I just keep on moving like, hey, the little engine it could. I think I can. Hey, I know I can because that's just how things are going. I love it. You know, there's a lot of things taking place really quick. I definitely want to speak on this. The young lady, the young soldier who was missing at Fort Hood, Texas. May she rest in peace. Her body was found, and they have arrested some suspects. One suspect even took his own life. So I'm sure the backstory and the details, when they can be released, will come out. But I just want to say, may she rest in peace. Definitely want to send prayers up for her because no matter what she did, no matter what the tragedy was that took place, she should still be with us. And I want people to know the Army didn't do or not do, or a lot of people saying the Army did this or the Army covered this up. What I will say is this, is that one of the suspects who I don't believe he has been apprehended yet, he was covering his own tracks. So the cover-up was coming from a guilty party, so to speak, or somebody that, let me say that, an alleged guilty party, or somebody that may have been involved with it. Hey, Mr. Williams, of course I'm in my RV. I see you. You know what I'm saying? Come on, Ellsworth, I see you. You know I'm in the big cat. Hey, shout out to Tiffin Motorhomes. So one of the alleged suspects was involved with it. So he was covering things up as he was going. So that, I tell people all the time that I served for 23 years. The Army is a melting pot. We have bad people in the Army. We got good people in the Army. Everything that can happen in the civilian world happens within the Army too. So it wasn't that, unfortunately, there's definitely some bad people caught up in this situation. And I'm sure that they're going to be brought to justice in a hard way because that young soldier, she didn't deserve any of that. So, definitely may she rest in peace. Definitely may she rest in peace. That being said, hey, we want to get on to some stuff. Today is going to be an awesome show today. Why? Because I've got somebody that's like family to me coming on, a phenomenal, talented illustrator. I mean, when this woman puts pen or pencil to paper, she is definitely drawing from her soul. You hear me? I wish I had a smidgen, an infinite amount of the talent that she had. So she's not only an illustrator, she's an author. And we're going to be talking about several of the books that she's been a part of and projects she's been a part of today. And one of the main ones we're going to be talking about is the Little Bayou Fairy. And what I love about the Little Bayou Fairy is that she wrote the book over 10 years ago, but the themes within the book speak to everything that's happening right now today. And that's not a coincidence. That's divine intervention. That's divine intervention. That's like saying, hey, I'm going to give you this. You're going to write it, but you're going to sit on it for 10 years. And when you get ready to release it, oh, wow. As soon as you get ready to release it, you'll see why I have you release it at the time that you do release it. Hey, Miss Harvey, Janera, I see you. Thank you for tuning in. You're rolling with Ramsey. So have your questions ready, and we're going to be talking about so much stuff. So let me bring this young lady in. If you all don't mind, let me bring her in right now. There she is. There she is. So we now have, hey, listen, I'm excited because this is like my family. You know, we're technically not cousins, but we say that we are all the time. But we now have the phenomenal Miss, like I said, awesome illustrator, author, you name it. I like to call her my cousin because, you know, that's just how we do. We like cousins. Miss Erica Nicole Ramsey-Bowen. You are officially doing what?
Rolling with Ramsey!
And you know it. That's what's up. That's what's up.
That's what's up.
Hey,
That's what's up.
So I'm so excited to finally have you on the podcast. It is.
Rolling with Ramsey!
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
I am too, Charles. Dream come true, man.
Yeah, to have you on is definitely a blessing. We're going to talk about so many things today. And so, listen, so I know that you are probably watching as we are going, but you're going to have to stop watching yourself because you're going to give me feedback. So however
I'm not giving you...
You listen, technologically, I don't know how you watching this show or whatever, because I can see that you watching the show. So you better have it muted so I don't hear no feedback from you. I'm just saying. So okay. All right. So listen, how's your day going today?
My day is going, I would just say it's going typical for COVID crazy, but productively so. So, I don't have any complaints. Because A, I'm alive, B, I'm well, and C, D, E, F, G, a lot of my friends and family are alive and well. So considering the current climate, that's a blessing, right? And I'm here awesome. Talking with you. Yeah, so I'm blessed beyond measure. So today is going awesome. Let me change my answer to that. Go there.
Hey, listen, I get it, though, because, earlier you were supposed to send me some emails, some things we're going to look at later, some exclusive content. And I was like, where's it at? And she's like, hey, I don't know the world she's in, but she's like, hey, I'm putting out some fires for a couple of books, this, that, and the other. And it's like, wow, you know what? When you have this kind of talent and people are seeking you out to illustrate some of you actually bring life to their words to be able to do what you do.
That's a great one.
And so when you're bringing life to someone, bringing life to someone's work, I get it. They want it to be just right. They want it to be just right. And so I can only imagine, hey, can you make this change? Can you make that change?
Well, actually, Charles, the person who usually is the hope is me, because I know when it's not right. And I know when it could be more right or better or, better than right. So I actually have two authors who, and thanks, Lucette, I see you, who I'm working with. And they would have been just fine probably about 2 iterations ago. But it's a huge responsibility. And just like you say, if someone gives you the power to birth their beautiful words into a visual, you better come correct. Because that's how I would be about my baby. Wow. And I want to make sure their work is just sterling.
Wow.
And equals the love and care that they put into their books. So they'll tell you, Carla Wright Jukes, I put that poor woman through heart attacks with the first book, A No Don't Day. But by the time I was all said and done, when you look at the beauty of A No Don't Day, which was the first one I ever illustrated, you can see the love. And that's what I wanted, because her story's so just incredibly loving. And the same for Lisette Perry's book. I mean, I don't know what greater trust there is besides handing someone your actual child and saying, here, can you just take care of this for a couple of months for me?
Wow. So
it's amazing.
So help me out with the process. I'm probably I'm thinking like, this is probably a silly question, but my mom told me the only dumb question is the one that you don't ask. So do you sit down with them, or is it normally, because like I have a creative brain within me. So when I've had people do things for me in that fashion, once I feel that I've conveyed what I'm looking for from them, I give it to them and I leave them alone. Because I know when you're dealing with a creative artist, you want to give them the time to just, you don't want to put any constraints on them. So the people usually say, here's the book, here's the manuscript, put pictures with this, bye.
That's funny. It's funny that you talk about that, because I've had two sides of that. It's either going to be one or the other. It's never going to be an in-between. So I'll be very open and transparent and sharing with you that the very first book I was working on, I actually got fired from.
Oh,
and
wow.
I won't talk about, I won't name, it was a beautiful project, but it just came along at a point in my life where I had a family illness that was all consuming, and my timelines got really screwed up. And that was actually a very good life lesson, which is life will happen. So you can't anticipate a pandemic, but you can anticipate that there's going to be things that happen. So for someone who is what I like to call high touch and very, very involved with their work, they may not be the best fit for me. So I always try to advise my clients from the gate. And I now know 4 books in, Erica has now learned her lesson. I prepare you by sharing with you. I may have delays. There are people in my family who are very ill right now, and I'm trying to stay connected to them. If you are like, this has to be done yesterday, then we probably should not work together. But if you're like, okay with life may happen, aliens may attack the earth, we've seen killer hornets this year. I'm waiting for Jesus at this point, because we've done everything else. I've checked off my bingo card. Then you and I can work well together. If you can flow with it, I can flow with you.
Right.
And and I think in the end, they actually get more than their money's worth that way, because then I go to bat for you. And I don't know if other illustrators that do this, I promote the heck out of your book. I talk about your book like it's my own. I've already been paid. I'm not getting paid on your book, but I'm going to talk about like I was your doula because I helped you birth this thing, right?
Right.
I was your midwife for your book. So I'm so proud of what you've made that I'm going to go to the nth degree. And people kind of look at me weird, like, I'm like, honey, the world is vast. There's room for everyone's book in this world. I'm never going to feel a sense of like, I can't talk about, no. So there's no room for jealousy.
So wait, let's slow down for a minute. So
yeah, sorry, I go.
no, but we're good though. Let's slow down for a minute. So what I mean by that is let's talk about the business side real quick, because you said you've already been paid. So I don't know how the publishing, the book world works in that sense. Are there different types of contracts where you can be paid percentage based off volume sold as the illustrator, or you take a flat rate? Is it, you know what I'm saying? Help me out.
That is actually a very good question. And actually, you are correct. We need to be very clear about that. Let me just pause that conversation entirely and say, for those of you out there who are watching, who are thinking, I'm going to illustrate a book and become a wealthy person, just go ahead and take up some other profession just right now, because it is, no matter how famous you are, there's my mate out there in England, Dapo Adiola, who did Look Up. Cheers to you, Dapo. He does beautiful work, and he's like famouser than famous out there, right? And he still hasn't gotten paid on some projects.
Wow.
So you can get paid a number of ways, but you can do it for the love of the game, but never, ever do it for the money.
Right.
But be strategic about it. So from the gate, most times I self-publish, and a lot of the people I work with self-publish. But if you're, no matter what, you're going to have a deposit of some kind. They're going to pay you up front a percentage of something, whether it's a percentage of the total amount you agreed to on a contract, or maybe it's a combination where you get a bit of money here and then some money off of each book. I actually like the latter. I just found out recently that that's probably the better way to go. But, we live and learn.
So is that money off of future books or?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
okay.
And you have to be very clear. Aspiring illustrators, take note. You don't get paid like the book starts selling tomorrow, for example. Well, you don't get a check at the end of the week. You don't get a check at the end of the month. You don't get a check till one quarter has passed, and that particular publisher tallies up the number of books sold and returned, and off of that number, one quarter in is when you get the check. So unless you are strategic with your financial planning, and we're going to talk about that, Charles, because you mentioned that in our last conversation, then you're really going to mess yourself up. So be very, very, very clear about that. Very clear about the terms from the gate.
Right. That's awesome for people to understand the business side of that. So now when you guys are going and you're in your Borders bookstores or Barnes and Nobles and you hit the children's section or whatever, and you just happen to see, oh man, this book is awesomely illustrated. That person might be still struggling somewhere. So yes, buy a copy. You never know.
So don't go ask for that loan. Don't be like, hey, cuz, I heard you did well with that book. Yes, I'm sure I did. I'll find out in a month.
Definitely. I know. Real quick shout out. Hey, Quentin, I see you. Thomas Hill, I see you. Tashona, I see you. Fred Douglas, Jamie, Lucy, thank y'all for tuning. You all are rolling with Ramsey. It's definitely understandable. Since we're talking, we're talking about books, so we're going to highlight right now the main book that I've been highlighting all this week, The Little Bayou Fairy. So
Thank you.
I'm just really ecstatic about it because the themes, like you said, within this book speak to a lot of things that are happening right now, but you wrote it 10 years ago. So that is just like, wow. You wrote this book 10 years ago. So tell us about The Little Bayou Fairy, the premise of the book, and some of the love and went into it. Better yet, like, where were you at 10 years ago to even write in your mind, to be in that mindset?
That's a great question. I actually had to think about that for a second. I was like, where was I 10 years ago? I was working in corporate. I had worked in corporate for over 20 years at that point as an admin, which is, for those of you who are in the world of that, administrative professional. So I've worked for CEOs, CFOs, CMOs, presidents of companies as their right arm, or as their old-fashioned term is secretary. And it was a very good, inexpensive business school because I have seen the best of the best. Shout out to those of you who we're friends on Facebook. You know who you are, my former employers. And then I've also worked for the worst, the worst of the worst. So I already had stories percolating from that experience.
Wow.
And I always used to threaten them. I'd be like, I'm writing a book one day, right? Yeah, you're going to be chapter 12. Chapter 12, you're going to be the part of the climactic conflict in the book. But no, I mean, I was having a great time living my life. I had gone to art school originally. So I had gone to art school, had been burnt out. A lot of tumultuous things happened. My senior year, I lost a parent, and then I lost 2 grandparents, and that just sent me over the edge of whatever. And so, I don't know, I was just shut down creatively for a very long time. Now here's the thing that's so funny is I would be in these board meetings for these corporations and taking notes longhand and doodling in the margins. And It was like so bad that one time after a meeting, one of my bosses said, hey, can we refer to those board minutes for a second? I just want to check. I was like, oh, wait, no, you don't want to see, because I had actually drawn everyone in that room as an animal. It's a really bad game I play called What Animal Would You Be? So there was an assortment of pigs and horses and cows in my picture.
Oh, wow.
And I did not want my boss to see that. So yeah, there's little peeps of things that were happening. And then long story short, my niece, she was 11, and 2 things were going on. Girls are rough these days. I mean, they were rough when I was coming up, but they're really rough. They do some mind games that I honestly don't know. They run circles around the way we were. So she was going through some bullying, and she was also upset because Harry Potter was very big at that time.
Okay.
And she said, Auntie E, why aren't there any books about little brown fairies or little brown girls who are wizards or brown girls who have adventures like that? And I said, still? Really? Sorry, people are calling me. Oh. Hey guys, if you see me here, don't call me.
Go ahead.
I'm talking here. Don't call me. I can't answer the phone. I'm talking to Charles.
That's all right.
But so she was like, Auntie E, I don't understand. And I was like, I don't understand, because that was my complaint when I was your age. And I
Wow.
started doing the math, and I was like, here we are 3 decades after I was your age, and there still aren't any books like that. So then, Charles, I started doing the research. Well,
And it's funny.
never let Erica do the research.
It's funny that you mention that because I'm a big Harry Potter fan. Don't get me wrong. Like I can watch the
Me
movies
too.
all
Me
that.
too. Nothing against it.
And if I'm not mistaken, one African American or black, I can't remember if it was a young lady or a young
There's
boy
two.
in all of Hogwarts.
There was a young lady.
There was
a young lady who was on the Quidditch team, Angelina.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Yep.
And there was and he wasn't African American, he was British. Right. So he was brown, and that was the gentleman who was played by the main character on How to Get Away with Murder. But anyway, I can't think of his name right now. But he was on there.
But that's it. So it's funny that you mentioned that. And so
sorry, I had to go movie on it.
Yeah, and so then you go. I will say, then you have to go. Wow, all the way to A Wrinkle in Time, maybe. Before you.
Yeah, which I have a problem with because. And this is where I'm probably going to get a lot of hate mail. Because Ava DuVernay has so much pull. She could do any story in the world.
I agree.
Why in the world did you go to A Wrinkle in Time? And Oprah took over A Wrinkle in Time. I love you, Oprah. If you're watching, I love you to death. But all I could think was Oprah. As we were watching the screen, I'm like, Super Soul Sunday with A Wrinkle in Time.
Right, right.
I couldn't think about the character, so I'm too busy checking out Oprah, looking at her shiny couture, and I'm like, oh, Oprah, I'm so sorry, Oprah people, please don't be mad at me, but it was the truth. Come on.
It was, and I will tell you, unfortunately, the way that it was written and the way that it was done, the movie was done, it really didn't hold me the way that I wanted it to hold me. I remember taking my niece to actually see it in a movie theater, and I couldn't tell you what I wanted. I couldn't tell you anything about that movie if I wanted to. And I'm a big wizard. Like, one of my favorite movies is Never Ending Story. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
oh, we got to talk about that.
But anyway,
I'm serious.
But I mean, and so that just goes to show that even looking for diversity, even in the world of elves, and you can't tell me that in the Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you ain't had none of us. We not one brown elf fairy something.
You know what my joke is, right, about Middle Earth. My joke is that if the hobbits were being hunted down, and if there was this evil force in the world, obviously the safest place to be was wherever the black people were,
because they were nowhere to be found.
They were nowhere to be found. So they were in Helm's Deep. They were somewhere in Middle Earth, but they were nowhere to be seen. So y'all should have gone. The fellowship should have just gone straight to the hood and just hung out with us for a while. Y'all were, I don't know what you were doing.
That is too funny.
Probably where the Eagles were.
So let's stay on task.
I'm sorry. Now I got Tolkien hate going on.
Give me the premise. What is the Little Bayou Fairy all about?
Okay, so the Little Bayou Fairy is this fairy who is terrible at being a fairy. She lives in southern Louisiana, on the outskirts of what probably would be considered Pointe-Coupee Parish, where my mother grew up. And all the other fairies are beautiful and graceful. And, it doesn't matter what shape they are, which, by the way, there's all shapes, all hues of fairy, So they could be a curvy fairy. They could be as straight as an arrow fairy, but they're all graceful. They're all excel at flying. They all drink nectar. She can't do any of those things.
Oh,
she flies straight up and down and kind of fumbles around, and she's always hitting her head or her knee, or she's always tearing her wings. She's always doing something weird, and she doesn't look like them. They're all very graceful, and like I said, they've got beautiful, colorful wings. Her wings are kind of small and furry like a moth, and she's smaller than average size, and she's also a little bit bottom heavy, so she kind of flies like a bumblebee. So they call her Bumblebee as a disparaging remark. And so she loves to swim, which is another no-no. Fairies are not supposed to be swimming. She excels at it. She's really good at it. And so her best friend is this very seasoned catfish named Monsieur Bon Chance, or Bon Chance, depending on where you're from, meaning good luck. And he always gets the bait and then tangles the fishing lures for fun and runs away and thinks it's really funny. And so she and he are good friends. And he tells her about the ocean. And he says, you know what? You don't really live very well here. People don't really get you. So maybe it's time for you to check out a place in the world where you would fit. And so I have 3 messages in the book, and that's one of them, which is the world is vast on purpose. I want the young people to know that the world is big for a reason. And if you feel like you can't fit in the corner that you're in, you got to remember the world is round and big.
Right.
So you may be in a corner, but the world is round on purpose so you can go around and find out where you fit in. And so she starts on her journey, her quest, and there's a transformation, and there's a surprise at the end.
Oh, wow.
And it's a very fun, sweet, I think, little story. And I have a bunch of people who believe in it and who help make it happen. So shout out to you, to my Team Fairy crew for
Hey,
watching this right now.
I'm excited. I'm one of them people. I can't wait to get my copy. You know, it's like I'm like, look,
I can't wait for you to get your copy.
I'm excited. That is awesome, and and that's something to think about. You think about everything that we're dealing with right now, and just to have that, hey, it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
So many times our young people are put in a box. I don't look like you. You don't look like me. I'm supposed to look this way. I'm supposed to act this way, talk this way. It's okay to be different. It's okay to know and love yourself and who you are. And anytime you're promoting self-love and promotion, that's a beautiful thing because it's just wow. And so Janera asked, she said, hey, sounds like a really cool book. Is it available on Amazon? Eh,
It will be.
it
In
will
the
be.
next couple of weeks, all I ask is that you stay patient because we're coming off the pandemic. So all of my projects have been put on hold. And now it's like pushing 10. They're all going out at once.
Oh, wow.
So the Little Bayou Fairy will be out on Amazon. Charles, I'll make sure I post here on Rolling with Ramsey the moment it hits Amazon. Thank you for your question. I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
I would love for you to get a copy of the book. So I'll make sure I circle back with you.
Oh, most definitely, because the Rolling with Ramsey page, I will tell you this, there is a Facebook page, the Little Bayou Fairy, so you all should go like the Little Bayou Fairy page. At the end of the call today, the Rolling with Ramsey page is going to like that page, so you'll be able to find the link to the Little Bayou Fairy on the Rolling with Ramsey
Thank
page.
you.
So we're going to make sure we do that.
Thank you.
So many different things. So we're gonna guys, if you don't mind out there watching us, I'm here with my cousin here. My de facto cousin. So we're gonna branch off a little bit and talk about
Yes.
talk about some little other things while we got people watching. And don't be afraid to ask questions. So one of the things right now we're gonna talk about, and it's one of the things that you and I talked about is you guys don't know, but first of all, Erica has a phenomenal husband. He's really cool. Shout out to, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Mr. Bowen. He is really cool. But guess what? Erica is in an interracial marriage. And so
That's right.
we were talking the other day, and when I was talking to Erica said, hey, I had to really dissect what Black Lives Matter meant and what it was about and da-da-da-da. And I was telling that to one of my friends today, and they were like, so is she not black? I was like, no, she's black. I said, but you have to understand something. I said, Black Lives Matter has gone from a phrase to a movement to a de facto organization. So you have to be able to have it resonate with you. You have to understand for yourself where that is coming from. So take me through that manifestation and what you went through and how you saw it from your lens, particularly since you are in an interracial marriage.
Yes, and also let me put some more context for your listeners and your viewers. So don't let the skin tone or the tone fool you. My bio dad, as you would call it, taught it at a historically black college, Central. Shout out to Eagles. My mother was a hidden figure at North Carolina Memorial Hospital. She's one of the first people to integrate that hospital. We grew up in Durham. If you saw the movie Best of Enemies with Taraji Henson, that was my neighborhood, y'all.
That's right.
And my brother was 5. That was a year before he started first grade. My stepfather was pivotal in the civil rights movement in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and was one of the few people that was able to keep the peace there. And the reason why it was not a horrible, really, really, really terrifying experience for a lot of people, they gave him credit for, because he would be the go-between between the younger students who were actually high school age and the police force. So I say this so that there is no misconception, because I run into this kind of sort of often where, oh, because you talk a certain way or you have a light skin hue or you're married to a white man, I'm sorry, I hate to burst your bubble. That does not protect you against racism. That is not my get out of racism card.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I wish to tell you that were the case, in which case I would promote it left and right. Hey, you know what? How you get out of racism? Marry a white dude. Yep, yep, yep. That's gonna no. But but I also share this because I am a certain age. And so for me, I keep running into folks who are younger than I, a couple of generations younger, and this is a very um, visceral thing for them. And for me, I'm more like from the lens of growing up in the 70s, and I'm just kind of sitting back going, huh, what's this about? And then I'm looking things up, like I said, research. And so, yes, Charles, I was kind of in my head about it because I couldn't quite wrap my brain around what was going on and how should I do this. And but then by the end of the day, I got pissed because I started doing the math and I was like, yeah, here we are again. Some work has still yet to be done, and there's a lot of misinformation. So that was interesting.
Yeah, and
So
it's crazy um, to hear, people say, "Oh, well, all lives matter." Of course, all lives matter. Nobody's saying that all lives don't matter. That's not the case. We're saying that right now you have Black lives who are in danger, and we need your help to stop said danger, to understand the things and how we have to maneuver and deal with. It's funny that we talk about it because anybody who knows me knows my story. I went to a military school from the 7th through the 12th grade. One day we're gonna have to call and I'm gonna have to call you and talk because I literally have a book in my head. I could tell you so many stories um, from beginning to end. But at any given point when I was in school, I think the maximum amount of African American students or Black students, maybe 12, maybe
right,
13, maybe.
right,
There was a window where we
right.
had 13. No, I can't even say 15. I'm going to say maybe 14 is probably ever the max at any given time through those
Mm-hmm.
12 years. The years that I was in school, 7th through 12th grade. So, and I say that because I saw it all. And so now I still keep up with some of my classmates, really good friends with a lot of different people. And
Yeah.
when I'm keeping up with them and I'm seeing what's going on in the world, and I'm like, yo, you can't say that. Oh,
Right.
no, but I don't mean it like that. No, you actually did. Let me help
Yeah.
educate you on what you're saying and why that doesn't work. Why this
Yes.
premise doesn't work. Understand that. So don't, and I had to tell one of them, I said, so you do realize that I did experience racism when I was in school. And,
Right.
and, well, you never said anything. You never acted that way. Well, and you and I talked about it. That's because my parents taught me how to communicate. I
Correct.
understood that this person doesn't know any better. They're ignorant. I
Correct.
can't let you steal my energy because I have other things that I'm focused on. And I can't get so focused on you at such a young age that I miss the bigger picture of why I'm here, and that is to get an education. That is not saying
Oh yes.
that is not saying that I
Yes.
ignored what was taking place. Oh, trust and believe, Cadet Ramsey. Uh, I wait till the book come out. I did a few things,
Yeah.
We trust. Hey, I learned to run maneuvers, midnight maneuvers, a long time ago. I mean, so it was just it's just funny
I
things
love that
like
about you.
that when you go back and look at now. You're interacting with people that you're associates with them, some of them friends, and they still don't get it. And I'm like, yo,
Right.
America is America a large percentage of because of how we help build this nation. And you cannot just ignore that and act like, oh, yeah, well, it was no big deal. Yep, we had slavery, da 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 da, and it went away.
The other thing that has happened along in conjunction with that, that it was to our parents' credit, but maybe they didn't see this coming, is that our parents were from the suck it up buttercup generation. So they weren't out there saying, I sacrificed this and that and went through this, that, and the other, because they were already trying to build what they wanted to create in the world. And they were like, our work was done, we're moving forward. So, for example, I did not know how pivotal my stepfather was until, dumb me, I get my mom calling me about, I don't know, 6 months ago saying, can you help write an article about his contribution to Chapel Hill and Carrboro? And I'm like, what? So I started researching. Come to find out, there's pictures of him in the Civil Rights Museum.
Wow.
There's pictures of him marching. There's a picture of him being carried down the steps by a policeman. Now, my
Wow.
stepfather's a tall man. He's 6'3",
Wow.
So, and at that time, he was all muscle. So those poor policemen got their share.
I mean,
They
that's,
probably were.
I mean, and it's funny because,
They were
you
like,
know, it's ironic that you say that because I remember my mom telling me when Jesse Jackson was the president of the student body at A&T, my mother was the president of the student body at Bennett College. So
oh,
they were
wow.
working in conjunction and sending people down for the civil rights movement and doing a lot of different things at the time. And so there's a lot of things that we're not aware of sometimes of what's happening. And I see the lack of leadership per se now in this young group of people who are just expressing themselves the best way that they know how in a tumultuous situation, because it is definitely a powder keg of enough is enough. Enough is enough. It's a powder keg of enough is
Yeah.
enough, and we're just not going to take it anymore. So it's not just about getting
Yeah.
out the vote, hashtag vote for Joe Biden. I'm going to keep saying that every episode because we want the other guy to go away, and he's the only other
Love
option.
it.
And so it's not
I
about
love
whether
it.
you figure you can do the job, if you're too old. No. Anything is better than what
That's
we
why you
got
have
going on.
cabinet members.
Exactly. And so
That's why you have
we got to be able to do that. So it's not just that. It's about saying, okay, unifying, where are we trying to go? What do we want to do? And I'm going to let you talk, but I want to say this real quick. I was
No,
watching
go for it.
I was watching a clip of Louis Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan the other day. Somebody sent me this clip of Minister Farrakhan back when he was on the Phil Donahue show. So that tells you how long ago the clip was.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there watching it. I'm going, yeah. He was very respectful. He was answering questions. You know how Farrakhan is. And he got asked this question about education.
Okay.
And you know what? Farrakhan is absolutely right. I agree with him 1,000,000% on what he said. He said, educating our youth on true history, not 1 month, but Black history and how we help build this nation does not just help them, it helps you as well, because now you have a newfound respect for our contribution to this nation. Therefore, you will treat us differently because you will feel that we have contributed. The same thing is how I feel. Hey, I served 23 years, decorated soldier. I love it. Thank you. I served my country. But part of me still feels kind of pain for the World War II veterans, the Vietnam veterans, everybody that came home of color who did not get the homecoming, treated respect, didn't get the loans, all this stuff, the GI Bill, the things to be able to use to jumpstart their families, to build generational wealth. We didn't have those opportunities, even though we were serving a country who didn't care for us. And so
Yes.
it's kind of, it's bittersweet, but they paid the price to get me to the point to where I am now. And
Yes.
I tell people all the time, I said, we still have so much more that we have to do.
Oh, for sure.
To be able to recognize that. So
Civil
look,
rights movement is barely 65 years old.
right. And
There are people. Ruby Bridges is still alive.
right.
Ruby Bridges, they just shared a picture of her, is still alive. So how in the world is that going to be cemented now in our nation? Our nation is a young nation as it is, but for 65 years, for less than the amount of time that our parents were alive, we were not considered equals in this society. So that should tell you everything you need to know.
And I tell people, I say, hey, everybody talks about the Civil Rights Act. At the very same time they passed the Civil Rights Act, they passed the Interstate Highway Act. And if you don't go back and do your research, there's some covert racism in the Interstate Highway Act. And that's why you don't have exits. That's why you had the term the other side of the tracks, because they did not put exits where Black and brown neighborhoods were on purpose.
Yes.
So now you had to get off, come around, come back across the railroad track. It's done on purpose. So you have to go back and look at that. That's a whole nother conversation, another story for another day. But look, what we're going to do real quick is I've been hyping you up, telling everyone how you're this phenomenal illustrator. I think it's time that they see some of your illustrations. And so,
Yay, show and tell.
Let's see if we can,
I love this part.
All right, we're going to pull this up and let's see. So first, let me close it real quick. I pulled it up and I want to close it because I want to make sure. Okay, it did come in. So we're going to open up this first one and I'm going to share my screen. And guys, everybody that's out there watching, when you start seeing these illustrations and you have questions, feel free at any time to chime in, and ask a question. Okay.
And I'm not watching my screen, Charles, because I want to stay focused on you. So
All
if
right,
you're
so
asking me a question,
I will,
can you read it out loud?
of course. No, I'll tell you what the questions are. So let me share my screen, and it's asking me which one I want to share. So here we go. All right, so we're going to share this one. All right, so we should be. We're going to see here. And I'm waiting for the world to be able to see it. You guys have to understand that I'm monitoring like things in 2 or 3 places.
Aww.
So tell us about this pitch.
Okay, so that's from my quote unquote day job. I do pet portraits, and my company's called Peachy Portraits. Peachy Portraits, and basically I draw any kind of, if you have a pet of any kind, dog, cat, Gila monster, I will draw it. And if you happen to be like this gentleman happened to approach me 2 days before Mother's Day, and he was in the doghouse literally because his wife had just given birth to a beautiful baby, saying, "Can you help me? Can you help me?"
Oh,
Erica,
wow.
yes, I can.
Oh,
so
wow.
This was created in 2 days, and I'm real proud of this one because I just love the little chubby baby legs. You just want to bite them. And the 2 dogs were so sweet.
That is really cool. So let's talk about that.
That's my day job.
Let's talk about that really again. So here it is. If you're a dog lover and or animal lover and you need your animal drawn, you want it cemented in history, here you go. You've got a person now who could definitely make that happen for you. So let's go on to this next one. Let's see.
Yes.
Oh, it's Rocky Raccoon.
Yeah, so this is a detail from one of the illustrations in the Little Fairy, and this is a character that does not have a name. It's referred to as the Masked Stranger because raccoons look like they wear masks.
Oh, wow!
And he runs into her, or she runs into him rather, and he gives her, like I said, there's 3 messages in the book, and he gives her one of the key messages, which is you have to find out who you are because he knows what she is. And he tells her, "Oh, I know what you are. I know. I definitely think you belong in the ocean." And she's like, "Really? You can see the real me?" And he said, "Yeah, but that's not for me to tell you. It's for you to know."
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so he's sharing mulberries with her, which mulberries, by the way, are delicious. And there's lots of wild mulberry bushes down near my mom, where my mom lives. So I have fond memories of that.
So he's the masked stranger. Masked stranger.
The masked stranger. So she thinks he's wearing a mask, but he's like, "Sorry, this is actually the mark of my people. My people, we have these." And little did I know when I wrote this that COVID was coming, so mask takes on a whole new meaning now. But yeah. So
that is too funny. So let's go to this next one. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I have so much love in my heart for all of these, but this one in particular. So if you look at this, it's not a mistake. She's not missing the piece of the illustration is not missing. This little girl is a character in Jessica Carter's book, Yoga, and it's a yoga book for children. And just as I'm committed to showing inclusivity in all of my books, when I do work for other authors, I include children who may be differently abled. So this little girl, she's one of the 9 children in Yoga, and she does yoga. And she has had, unfortunately, she was in a car accident, so her right arm and her right leg were amputated. But she is a go-getter. Her name is Cecilia, a.k.a. Cece.
Okay.
And she is very driven, but she does yoga, believe it or not, to calm her spirit down.
Oh, wow.
She's so type A. Her parents are kind of concerned about her. And so she does yoga to find calmness and strength in her physicality. So this is her jumping in the 6-foot end of the pool.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome.
Doing a cannonball. So yeah, there's Cece.
There's a little rabbit.
And that's a rabbit. Yep, another one of the little spot illustrations. So yoga is interesting because you talked earlier, Charles, about authors who kind of just say, "Go, run with the wolves. I'll see you in another month." That was Jessica. Jessica completely left me alone, and that was a dangerous thing to do because what ended up happening was I came back and I was like, "Okay, I got this. This kid has this story. This kid has this story." Her book is the first one coming out. It'll be out in the next week or so, I believe.
Okay.
And it is actually the one that took the least amount of time, and it's because of a number of things. I knew what I was doing the first time ever. The others were kind of sort of suffering from my inexperience. And then also, just because Jessica just let me be, she was just like, "Go do you,
Wow.
girl," which is a big trust. By the way, me myself, if I were to have an illustrator work for me, I wouldn't be that way. I'm too type A. So Jessica, shout out to you, girl.
Oh
But yeah,
wow.
this is one of the spot illustrations for a
All
rabbit
right.
pose. It was actually me,
Let's
including the rabbit with the
let's see
pose.
if we go. Flora, the Lisa Perry Caraboyle.
Oh,
Yeah.
that book is beautiful. Okay, so this is the cover for Flora, and this is the one in Espanol because Flora is actually in two languages,
Oh wow.
Inglés y Español. And do I speak Spanish? I don't hablo Espanol very well, but enough to recognize we have a huge number of people who that is their first language here in the U.S. Okay,
Yeah.
and I don't want to get into a diatribe about it, but let's just be real about it. So this book, on one side is English. You flip it over, the other side is in Spanish.
Nice.
So you can learn the language. And it's a beautiful book because Lisette wrote this beautiful book based loosely on her three grandmothers. And it takes place in Puerto Rico. And shout out to my friends in Puerto Rico. But I love Flora. Flora is a matriarch. She's a woman who has wisdom, and she has that big grandmotherly heart, that abuela heart. And I have a theory that a reason why we have a lot of people feeling lost is that we don't have homage for our matriarchs these days. We don't have
Right.
room for
Right.
them
Right.
or
Most
our
definitely.
patriarchs at that. So our older generation. So she is the wisdom of the village. And
Um,
then she tells a story within a story.
all right.
It's a
So let's
beautiful
see.
book.
Let's see. Uh, Ducklies and Ducklings.
Another spot illustration for Yoga. And
Okay.
again, this little, kids and animals, man. That's like your first introduction to how the world works. When I was a kid, I was outside in the dirt all the time, and I learned about things from watching the creatures around me. So this is a mama duck, and at one point, one of the characters loses her mom. It's all about for the kids dealing with things and
Mm.
doing yoga to overcome them. And she's actually one of our favorite characters. Jessica and I, independently of each other, like this one little girl the best. I'm not going to say who it is, but she loses her mother, and then she starts to do yoga, and she kind of comes out of her little shell.
Okay.
And so there's little motifs of moms, and
Well, that's
just
cool.
little things in the book. Yeah.
Well, that's not what we want to see. Let's go. Mom, let's go back the other way. Don't want to see. Nobody wants to see me.
This is my best work right here.
Yeah, it's your best work right here. Nobody wants to see me. So let me go back. I thought I had them all.
I painted that one right there. No.
You painted that one right there. That's me,
Oh,
guys. When I was a W1. So let's go back. So let me
look
go
at that
back.
mustache. That
Uh,
dashing mustache.
let's
Look at
see.
that.
All right. So here we go. Let's try again.
Very
Mm,
nice.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Screen sharing stop. Window is closed. Okay. So let me hit OK. Let me
For
come
those of
back.
you who are watching, this is my fault because I sent Charles the files literally 5 minutes before we got on this call today. So
That's all right. We're gonna get it together.
he did that.
We're gonna get it together.
He did that for me.
We're gonna get it together. I think I got it. I think I got it. Let me go back to screen sharing and go back to photos. There we go. And share. There we go. So now I think we got the right photos now. There we go.
Okay.
So which one is now? Where's this from?
Oh, this is from A No Don't Day, and this was the very first book I ever worked on. And I give Carla Wright Jukes, who is the author, credit for getting me out of my head about not pursuing this full time. So I was still working in corporate when she called me up, and she's so sweet and kind, and she said, "Could you please illustrate my book? I could think of no one but you, Erica," which is a huge honor. And I'm like, "No, I can't. I don't have time." Da, da, da. And then I started making all these really silly excuses. And so she goes, "Well, I want to send you the story." And I said, "Yeah, send me the story. I want to read it. Let me just, get a feel for it, and I can recommend some good illustrators." I read the story. I called her up and said, "No one but me is going to illustrate this book because it is a loving and kind book. And it is unusual in two regards. One is the protagonist is an African-American boy, which if you look at the numbers, it is depressing how few books feature an African-American male protagonist.
Right.
And his mom, the whole book is around the idea that his mom says the word don't. Fred, the main character, says that makes him very sad. And so they have a great communication, he and his mom. I love the fact that he and his mom are very close and talk. And so she goes, that's good to know. I appreciate you sharing it with me. And then she proceeds to think it over, and she says, you know what? I think I have an idea. Why don't we just try a day without don'ts? Why don't we just try that? And I'm not saying she says, go hog wild, but she literally reframes what she says and how she says it to him.
A no
And
don't
Carla
day.
says very simply is to help foster strong, touching, loving, and nonviolent communication with children.
Wow.
And how creative can you be about that? And ever since then, I've been so jazzed when I see people saying on Amazon, hey, I tried that with my kids, or my kids wanted to have a no don't day. And we tried it. It's just beautiful. So thank you, Carla, again, for that trust.
So, like
and she was just so kind.
So
it's a beautiful book.
I skipped over, like I'm moving around while you're talking.
Oh, yeah.
And
there's the cover. And that, by the way, is on Amazon right now.
Wait, a no don't. So we're going to go back. So because I had to figure out where everything was. So there's the cover to a no don't day. So there's the cover. Because I want the Little Bayou Fairy cover to be last. So there's a no don't day. Day. And you said this is already on Amazon?
Yes, that's on Amazon.
Okay.
You can look it up under a no don't day.
Okay.
And it should bring you right there. And I believe the price is $12.99, and it is a beautiful, colorful, gorgeous. I love the colors that just pop off the page.
Wow.
And I love color. So you'll never see my books without bright colors. I just go hog wild with colors. So.
Wow.
And you'll also notice something odd about the book. I'm going to see who picks up on it, but when you get it, look what's not in it.
Okay.
See what you cannot find in it.
I have to remember that. Remember that.
Yeah.
And then.
Oh, and also I put Easter eggs in all my books. So if you see something in one book, it may be in another book too. I just do that for fun. I just do it for fun because I think it's fun to do that.
All right.
So Mr. Lion shows up in another book.
And
so there's my cover for my book.
And there's your book, the cover for the Little Bayou Fairy. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Oh, I love it.
I love her.
I love it. So it's definitely a passion, labor of love, I am sure. And so one of the cool things is one of the photos that I used for the promotion of today's show was a picture of you where you're sketching like in a pencil. And for me, it is like I said, I'm drawing stick figures. I think I can have some basic. I got some basic things about how to draw certain things, but nothing on the level of being, hey, I've got this creativity. I can draft this out for you. And no, that's not me. But that being said, though, it is phenomenal to see this come to life like that. So do you use a combination of graphs, computers, back, forth? How are you doing it?
That's a funny story. Marissa, if my niece is watching, she's laughing her butt off right now. Who, by the way, that was the same little girl that I wrote the story for, my niece. She's now in her 20s, so she's now illustrating, which is really cool.
Wow.
But she was like, Auntie E, you are so old-fashioned, because I start off doing everything by hand. I start off with a sketch, because honestly, there's something about just that feeling, that tactile feeling of the swishing of the pencil on the page. And I'm listening to music while I draw, and I actually have a little soundtrack I made for Little Fairy. I'll send that to you, Charles. And I'm listening to my music and I'm drawing, and then something happens and I just start falling into the story. But in order for it to really pop on the page, because the printing does a number on pencil, if I just scan them in, I literally have to almost redraw it once I scan it in. And I just started learning Procreate. So everything up until this time, don't kill me, don't wince, is done in paint.
There's nothing,
everything up until now.
But that is so old school though, because it will have its own. It will have its own. What's the best way to describe it? It will have its own feel. Like you'll be able to sit like a vintage type feel. That's the word I'm looking for. It'll have its own vintage type feel to it.
Fits.
Yeah,
it's an old-fashioned theme of a fairy tale in a modern setting, so it kind of sort of fits.
Definitely have its own vintage feel. Let me stop share. Bring us back in. There we go. Bring us back in. But that is really that is really cool. I mean, to be able to have that. And so, tell me something though. What are possibly what you got on the horizon? What's coming up? What do we don't know about?
So what you don't know about and what you may know about if you follow my page is that right behind, okay, so let me give you timelines. Om Yoga, probably coming out within the next week or so. I'll be making sure you get the link to that. That's the one that Jessica Carter wrote.
Okay.
Right behind that is Flora. We just got the book approved today, and there were 2 more things I had to tweak, and that's why I was so late to our connection. And then, weirdly enough, my book, which was first in line, is going to be last, right behind that. So we're talking about a 3-week span of book.
Okay.
And then right behind that, I have a book I started working with a wonderful young man named Charlie. Shout out to you, Charlie, and your mom, Pam. Charlie is differently abled, and he came out with this amazing story called The Mashup, and it is a comic book. And
Okay,
so
cool.
Charlie has an extra chromosome, so he's like, that's my superpower. And he runs
wow.
around asking people, what's your superpower?
Oh, wow.
And I fell in love with this kid because he just was like, I'm like, first of all, I love comics. So, you know, I'm always about it. I'm a Marvel fan. So he starts talking about he's a mashup between Hawkeye and the Hulk. And I'm like, this kid. And I thought, what a beautiful story. So his mom and I are starting to work on that. And then also Free Unicorn is a book that I wrote to kind of lighten my mood at the very beginning of Corona, because I was so depressed. But I was also doing some work with Cobb Humane Society. And I started thinking, like, my brain went sideways. And I was like, you know, unicorns seem really cool, but what would happen in real life if you got one for a pet? And then my brain went further sideways, and I was like, and what if you were me and just brought it home and didn't, like, really vet it with your parents? And what kind of chaos would ensue if the unicorn did things that weren't very magical?
Hey, all I'm saying is Harry Potter was written on a train by a woman who was like in between jobs. So who knows? You know, you can't say anything. You know, that is amazing that you have that talent and you're able to bring it to life. We'll tell you this. Hey, you know what? Next year, when the Triad Comic Con happens, you'll have to come up and be a guest, since I'm one of the sponsors of the Triad Comic Con here in Greensboro, North Carolina. Shout out to Fred Wright, who is the owner of the only Black-owned comic book store in North Carolina. So go by Eastgate Comics and purchase, pick up your comics. And we're loving the fact that you're a Marvel fan, but we'll talk about that later. But it's awesome.
I know you're DC. I know.
No, I'm not DC. I'm a Marvel guy. Definitely awesome. Okay. Awesome. Only thing good about DC is Naomi, and I have all her comics.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Again, I'm probably getting like major hate mail right now.
but Naomi is a Black superhero. If you guys didn't know, Black female superhero, and she's on DC's comics, and I have all her comics in there, not to be opened and messed with. But right. It's one of those things. It was awesome having you on today. We are definitely going to highlight once again the Little Bayou Fairy. As soon as it comes out, I'm going to have the link. I'm going to be shouting it from the rooftops. Everybody go buy this book. Go buy this book. But
Charles, can I give you a shout out, please?
Oh, come on.
Please.
Oh,
and gratitude. Come on, man. I got to give you a shout out of gratitude. First of all, you're living my dream. You know, I had talked about I wanted to do the She Shed on Wheels before Corona hit, and you got the RV, you got the beautiful mic, quality mic, and I love who you have on the show. So I was following you, and I had missed the first 2 episodes, and I started looking at who you've had on the show. It's dynamic. I'm really engaged with now. See, I now want to go take some tactical training because of one of your guests. And I was just like, this is an amazing show. So I'm loving the content. I feel honored to be included, and I feel honored by the time you've taken with my project today. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh,
really.
You're so welcome. I'll say it again. Rolling with Ramsey is all about bringing people together and just having healthy conversations. Whether I agree with you or not, we should not have a world where we can't just sit down and talk to each other and say it's okay to disagree. But it's still, at the end of the day, we love each other. We bleed the same blood, and we're all on this earth. And if we don't take care of one another, take care of Mother Earth, trust and believe you me, if things keep going on the trajectory that they're going on, I tell people all the time, only thing that's going to eradicate racism is one or 2 things. You better watch The Day After Tomorrow. Mother Nature is going to just flip the script, and, and she's not going to care how much money somebody got or what they look like. Or somebody else is just going to show up to the planet, and they're going to be like, I don't know what this is you got going on down here, but I'm killing everybody. So
It's the day the Earth stood still.
Yeah,
you know, which is one of the original and the remake, which by the way is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I tell people that, I said, so, or like Independence Day. So we either gonna all have to band together one way or another. And so, but I tell people, even in that instance, if you remember the movie They Live, guys were putting on glasses and you couldn't see the people unless you had glasses on. You still have people among us who still want to do bad things. So
yes,
those people are out there. It's how we interact and deal with each other. The best way that we can eradicate those folks is to love one another. That's it.
Right.
Everybody knows what's right. Everybody knows what's wrong. You see it. Just don't act like you're blind. That's all we're asking. Don't act like you're blind. Just open your eyes and admit what you see and say, you know what? If that were me, I would not appreciate that too. That's it. And so, hey,
I know.
Thanks for coming on.
Put.
Hey, I'm going to call you. We got some stuff to talk about because, hey, some other projects that I want to work on with you. So we're going to make some things happen.
Yes.
Tell your hubby I said hello. Mad shout out to Mr. Bowen. We got to get up. When I come through Atlanta, we're going to we're going to revisit this thing when Corona breaks, whatever. We're going to roll down there in the Big Cat and we're going to do this again, do the follow-up interview the way it's supposed to be. And guess what? I'm going to have you right in front of me, right here, and we'll film you in the Big Cat because that's how it's supposed to be going down. So you'll truly be rolling with Ramsey.
And look at this motor coach. Ladies and gentlemen, what Charles is in is not a camper. Don't do that. Don't be me. Look around the luxurious surroundings and understand it is a motor coach. Please.
Hey,
please.
I am
like calling a yacht a boat.
Hey, listen, I am blessed enough to be in the position that I'm in. Thank you, Uncle Sam. Thank you, Jesus, for blessing me and taking care of me for those 23 years. And at the end of the day, he says, hey, if you ask for it, he will give it to you. All you got to do is ask him and he'll make it happen for you. Nothing is ever perfect. I believe that we go through a lot of things to get to where we're trying to go. And so you have to be able to look back at your own testimony and say, hey, what have I been through? What is it preparing me for? Who is it preparing me for? And am I ready? Am I ready? And guess what, Erica? You are ready because you are living the dream in your own right. Hey, you keep drawing, you keep doing what you do, and most of all, you keep rolling with Ramsey.
I'm going to keep on rolling with Ramsey.
Bye, cuz. I appreciate you.
Bye, cuz. Love to y'all. Love to Pop.
Hey, most definitely.
Thanks,
most definitely.
Charles.
You're welcome. Hey, listen, guys. I want to tell everybody out there, remember, go to the Rollin' with Ramsey page. We need you to like the Rollin' with Ramsey page. We need you to follow us on Instagram at Rollin' with Ramsey. Go to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button and that bell on the side so when you know when we upload a new video. And most of all, continue. Don't just love me, love yourself. Hey, and it's going to be another glorious day. Peace. We out.